We're about to go live. Just 1 minute. I'm watching the other computer.
Very necessary thing.
Very necessary.
All right. All right.
There we go.
My system is.
There we
Oh,
go.
there you go. All
we
right.
are live
I'm
now.
here. All right.
Can you hear me, Rashad?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. I just want to first publicly say thank you so much for agreeing to come on this podcast and share your information on tonight. One of the things I tell all guests, this is not scripted. So I'm not going to throw any questions at you. Basically, you drive the car. I just keep it from going in the ditch. That's my concept. And what I mean by keep from going in the ditch, if you get stuck, if I feel like you're getting stuck on something, then you know what? I just jump in there, say a question or something, just throw something out there to keep the conversation going. But again, you are on here to tell your own story. You share your story like you want to, because there are so many people that's going to hear your story, and it stays up on YouTube. It don't go nowhere. It's going to be on YouTube to the end of time, because they ain't not going to take YouTube down. And so without any further conversation on what I'm talking about, let's get into what it is you want to share with us tonight. And let's just be open about what you want to talk about, okay?
Make sure you introduce yourself. Make sure you introduce yourself.
All right, we ready.
All right. Well, hello to the cyber world. I am Rashad Eagleton, otherwise known as Rashad the Vegan Chef, and I am the owner, operator of Kale's Kitchen. I am a vegan restaurant that is located inside of Shape Community Center, which is on 3815 Live Oak, Houston, Texas 77004, and I operate there on Wednesdays and Thursdays only, 12 to 6, and the last order is taken at 5:45.
Okay.
So with that being said, I am a young black man who has an immense amount of love for his people. In any way that I can, I want to help heal my people, and I want to help my people come together and love each other. Yes. So that was my introduction, and we'll take it from there.
Okay.
I'm definitely looking forward to having this good conversation with Miss Electra. I'm definitely looking forward to the people that can us conversate and dialogue back and forth, taking some jewels and some nuggets and some food, not only for their mouth and their stomach, but taking food for the soul.
Yes, yes, yes. So on tonight, you wanted to talk about this myth about those in the black community, right?
Yeah. It's my subject matter was, well, is black community actually a myth?
Okay. Okay.
We always talk about like coming together.
Yes.
But in all actuality, it is easier said than done.
That's right.
And with that being said, I want to say rest in peace to Young Dolph. That was a rapper that was murdered today in Memphis.
Yes.
In his hometown. He was there to give back to the community.
He sure was.
During the turkey giveaway, he was going to give away a Lamborghini for Christmas or Thanksgiving, one or the other, and was murdered in his hometown. So I do want to say travel in peace to the artist. With that being said, is I want to say like once we as a people, we have
Mm-hmm.
to start to love ourselves first. The
Yes.
unity comes from self love. Because if I love myself inside and out, there's no way possible I can get up every AM,
Mm-hmm.
going and coming, and running to people that look like me and not love people that look like me. But
Right.
on the flip side of the coin, when
Mm-hmm.
you don't love yourself, that's called self hatred. So when you hate yourself, it is very, very easy to go out and about and harm people that look like you.
Yeah.
Because when you don't love yourself, most of the time, you probably want to kill yourself. But a lot of people are too cowardly to kill themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
what do we do as a people?
Kill
We
other
go murder
people.
somebody that look.
Yes.
We kill somebody that look like us. So instead of a murder, it's actually a suicide. That's something that we don't talk about. It's a psychological thing. When
Uh-huh.
we hurt somebody else, it's actually a representation of us hurting ourselves
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have that love at the core of ourselves.
Yeah. That what you were saying about the young man that was killed today. I heard Kwame Brown talking about it, and he was saying some of the same thing that you saying. When we gonna have some honest conversations about what's going on in our own community? We talking about what everybody else doing to us. We killing one another like we going to the grocery store. And why is it that we have, appear to me, correct me if I'm wrong, like we got some kind of hatred towards each other for moving forward in life and grasping things in life? It's like we angry with each other for that. What's your take on
Yeah,
that?
we are.
Mm-hmm.
It's rooted in post traumatic slave disorder
Okay.
because what we went through on the plantation, we were taken from our homeland. Not
Mm-hmm.
only that, America is actually our homeland because we were over here and
Mm-hmm.
we were all over the world. That's needless to say.
Mm-hmm.
But with that being said, what happened to us that was brutal, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't discuss the psychological effects of what happened to us. We always think about the physicality of chattel slavery, but we don't think about the psychological effects. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll break it down to something as simple as
Yes.
eating within
Okay.
the black community
Okay.
and
Talk about
sharing,
that.
sharing with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Because I noticed within the black community, one of the simplest things that people should enjoy together and share together is food. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard thing for us to even do with one another. Me, if you're around me and I'm
Mm-hmm.
eating, I'm gonna offer you some food. That's just my nature. And plus, I grew up in a loving family. But I
Mm-hmm.
notice when I'm around people that have grown up in poverty,
Mm-hmm.
it's like they're selfish with food. Or even I've noticed some people, young ladies that I dated that grew up in poverty. I will buy them food
Mm-hmm.
and I go to want to eat food that I bought with my own money at their house, and it will, what you doing or what you eating,
Mm-hmm.
and I like something small as that,
Yeah.
but it's rooted back in okay on the slave plantation,
Mm-hmm.
food was damn near hard to come by.
Yeah.
So then every little piece of food we got, we had to what hold it for dear
Uh-huh.
life.
Uh-huh.
So these things are passed down genetically. We don't
Mm-hmm.
talk about the spiritual aspect of it. That trauma is in our DNA. So how we treat each other is based on that trauma. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because when we were slaves,
Mm-hmm.
they taught us to hate everything about us. They taught us to hate our wide noses. They taught us to hate our kinky hair. They
Mm-hmm.
taught us to hate our full lips. They taught us to hate our beautiful, rich, dark skin. So think about this. This was 400 years plus years in the making. So it's still going on today in so-called 2021. And so me, I had to relearn everything that I thought I knew about what it was to be an African in America. Because our history starts at what? Slavery. Most of us don't know what we were before slavery. Not only were we kings, not only were we queens, we were architects, we were engineers, we were scientists, we were doctors, we were astrologers, we were shamans, we were good cooks, we were fishermen.
Yeah.
This is what they took from the motherland. They didn't take slaves from the motherland. They took well-educated gods, goddesses, kings, and queens and turned them into niggas. That is what happened.
Yeah.
And so, even today, you are my elder. So I know you probably have a problem with people saying that word to you or watching your grandkids even use that word.
And that,
nigga? What's up?
It don't, to be honest with you, Rashad, it doesn't bother me because I understand that when I used to be on a task force, and with that I had to have an enormous amount of training, and I had to understand youth coming from various backgrounds. So that kind of stuff, like I can hear them say, hey, my nigga, or, stuff like that, more than one way. And they had a gentleman, he worked with homicide, and he said these words. He said, look, I've been doing homicides for a long time. You got to know how they talking out there, because you can't be so sensitive till you don't, I don't want to hear that, when that's something, that one word saying that something else is getting ready to transpire. So how am I going to know that if I want to close my ears to what's going on? Communication is important. Kwame Brown said something today when the young man that was killed, he was talking about Nipsey Russell is what? Nipsey Hussle. He said, here's the thing, like, we so busy judging each other, the way we talk, the way we walk, the way we live, the way we earn our money, we forgot how to respect one another. Because we want people to walk according to our standards. It's not about that. Let people be who they are, as long as it's not bringing no harm to you. Because I'm telling you, being on the task force, ain't nobody talking real pretty. Nobody's talking real pretty. I used to go out and work with parents of murdered children. Let me tell you something. It's a lot of verbiage that go on that, like, you and Jackie might say, well, what were they just talking about? That's a conversation we're going to have on the sidebar, right? Because you ain't never dealt with parents of murdered children, and they say a whole lot of stuff. So I'm saying, earlier when Jackie was saying, I'm going to let you come in, Jackie, but I want to say to Rashad, when we initially, before we came on, she was saying, that's why she was saying, just say what you got to say, just be who you are. Because that's what people are looking for, real people. People are sick and tired of all this on the surface stuff. We need some real conversation. Because as my husband, when he was living, he said, ain't nobody ears that tender that they can't hear, because they're hearing more than that when they're not around you. So it's okay. Jackie, what were you about to say?
What I wanted to throw in, as a white woman, When I hear that word, I'm very uncomfortable with it. And I'm uncomfortable with it because to me, it means a certain thing. But Electra and I have talked about this. Most of my friends are people of color. It's just, that's the way life goes sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
And Electra, something happened to her at work. And I really thought it was going to turn a different way. And it didn't. And we had to talk about this and realize that the reason it didn't turn a different way is because of the color of her skin. And it was an eye-opening experience for me. And we talked about, and we talked about a lot of things, and we talked about verbiage, you know, how people talk, how kids talk. And we talked about how it's okay for a black person to use that word to another black person, but it is not okay for a white person to use that word because we associate it differently because we have a different history. We have a history of privilege. We know that. We know this. We know this. Well, I know this. Maybe a lot of people don't, but I know this. We have a history of privilege.
Yeah.
And we need to learn that it's okay for people who are different in different cultures, different education, different everything, different religions, to talk a certain way to each other, but not to assume, not to make assumptions that it's okay to adopt this verbiage and take it into yourself and say, because as a white person, unless your parents have done a really good job of raising you, it's in there. I'm sorry. I mean,
it is.
Electra can tell you, to me, people are people.
We are human.
But that does not mean that I haven't heard it. And I've heard it from my own parents. I heard it. So as a white woman, I just wanted to throw in my part of the story so that people can understand that we need to understand.
Yes, and these are the conversations, Rashad, what you're talking about tonight. These are the conversations we need to be having. What you're bringing tonight, we need to be having these conversations. Because I'm going to ask you this, Rashad. Me being an older woman, right?
Yes,
for me to see younger women calling each other the B word all the time, just relax with it. That bothers me. They put it in their songs, and we pay and make them rich, and they use that word. So what's the difference between that word? Because that's basically, that word means you calling that person a dog, because that's what that means. But they utilize it so freely till it's sickening that women be this, be that, they're all in the records with it and dancing off of it. I want to hear your view about that with these women with this B word.
I'm ducking out. I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. I really want to hear your views about that.
Man, with that, it just goes back to what I was saying about conditioning and self-love. When you don't love yourself, you're comfortable, referring to yourself as a nigger. You're comfortable referring to yourself as a bitch. And luckily, I grew up around women that carried themselves very wise, very knowledgeable. Not every man can say, like my mom and all my aunties and my grandma. Not many men can say they've had them.
Exactly.
My grandfather, my grandfather was a wise man. He was a pastor. May his soul rest in peace. So, with that being said, it goes to how you were brought up and how you value yourself. Me, I don't have any children, but I do know when I do have children, daughters, sons, I will tell my daughter, you are a queen.
Yes.
You are a princess. You are beautiful. I will tell my son, you are a king. You are a god. You are powerful. I will instill, speaking on it, I will instill this in my seed. So therefore, when they walk out and about in the world, They can have their chin up, they can have their chest out because they know at home, Daddy Rashad instilled in them that you are somebody. And so, with that being said, those ladies, because
Yes.
that's what they, at the core, they are ladies, but they don't know yet that they are ladies. They don't know yet that they are royalty.
Yeah.
They've become comfortable with calling themselves a bitch or hearing men call them that and been conditioned to feel like that is their worth. So until you know your worth, you're just gonna be comfortable calling other people that, comfortable with people calling you that. A few weeks ago, I had a young lady refer to me as a nigger, and I said, I'm nobody's nigger. I am a god.
Yeah.
You don't refer to me as a nigger. I
Right.
am a god. I am royalty. I am royalty, and so are you. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's most of the time it's women that I have to
Yes.
correct when they call me the N word,
Yeah.
and they look at me in astonishment and amazement. They don't battle me. They just be like, "Oh," taken back. Like I've never heard a man refer to himself as a king, as a god. That's why anybody that I meet, you are going to remember me because
Yes.
I'm very intellectual, I'm very smart, I'm very classy,
Yeah.
and I'm very, very respectful. So I stand out in any room that I go in. So if, it, if any black woman is watching this, know that you are a queen,
Yeah.
you are a goddess,
Yeah.
you are a creator, you are royalty. You were never a bitch, you were never a hoe.
Right.
You are royalty. Any black man watching this right now, know that you are a king, you
Yeah.
are a god, you are royalty. You have never been a nigger.
Right. Right.
And to
Right.
those I just spoke to, my black women, no matter what age you are, after you watch this, what I want you to do is go stand in the mirror and look deep into your soul because the eyes are the window to the soul. So when you get through watching this, look into your own eyes and look into your own soul and repeat these words. I am royalty. And just say that whenever you're feeling down, go look in the mirror and repeat that. I am royalty. And let it resonate within you. Let it vibrate within you. And once you start to believe that, watch your whole life change.
Yes. That makes a lot of sense. And just to go back a little bit, I wasn't saying that I validate that word. I was saying because at the points when working and being on the task force and you hearing all of this different stuff and sometimes people's lives were lost, you know, and then that's one of the reasons why I was at the table, and it was me and other detectives. It was a little bit of everybody around that table. This stuff is written down. That you know how when somebody is killed due to a violent crime, and they write it down, and that's they saying what some of the witnesses said that you know when they was talking to them. It doesn't. I'm not saying that I'm not saying it feels good. It's not something that I would just go around saying, or I don't think it's cute. I say it from the perspective of just I'm sitting here. Let's go back to the rapper that was killed today. You know, he was killed by his own. He was killed by another black person. Killed him. How do we validate some actions like that? And then when they start the investigation, everybody starts lying. But I can tell you this, Rashad, by being on the task force, and this is something that I learned through my training, whenever through all of my judicial training and legal training, whenever law enforcement asks you a question, they already know the answer. They just letting you lie on yourself to build a case against yourself. Those people who killed that young man today, it wasn't no stranger. It was another black person that didn't see him. I'm kind of putting together by you talking and speaking to us on tonight that person must have didn't know themselves. They didn't love themselves, right? Am I right? Putting it all together?
Yeah, you're putting it all together. You know, it's because that was a bounty, you know, on a man's head, $1 million bounty on his head.
Oh.
And so that may have had, you know, because he was beefing with other rappers from the city of Memphis.
Okay.
But nevertheless, that's still somebody's son, that's still somebody's brother, that's still somebody's uncle, still somebody's father.
Yeah.
And with that being said, he was no angel.
Right.
Because, you know,
Who is?
this is what he signed up for, you know, by whatever he was doing in the street. And I always say you live by the gun is how you go.
Okay.
So we have to watch what we speak, because a lot of, and this is another subject, the music that we listen to, the rap music. Well, me personally, I stopped listening to rap music because it does not resonate with my soul. I am on a frequency of love. So I like to listen to 70s R&B, 80s R&B, 90s R&B, because that is the frequency of love. So with that being said, there's power in the tongue. So in rap music, if we speak on killing people all day, selling illegal drugs out with people all day, robbing one another, making multiple kids, creating broken homes.
Yes.
Speak on that all day in the music.
All day.
So you don't think if you're speaking this on wax, you're speaking this on record, that it would eventually come into fruition, not only in your life, but in the people's lives that are listening to your record. So once we take control of our tongue, and how we speak to one another, how we speak of ourselves, that is a big factor in us raising our vibration. Just imagine, because R&B is really like a dying genre of music.
It is.
Just think back in your day, the artists. You had Teddy Pendergrass, you had Isaac Brothers,
Aretha Franklin. Yeah.
Huey Long.
Huey Long, which was.
You have Motown, The Temptations, Diana Ross. I could just go on and on. But all these people, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. All these artists' music talked about love or what's going on in the world. And once crack cocaine hit in the early 80s, late 70s, everything started to change. Because I speak on it from a historical standpoint.
Okay.
Like when I was in school, I loved history. That was my favorite subject, history. So you look at the 70s, the Vietnam War was just ending. And most of the people that went to fight the Vietnam War that were on the front lines were the black people. Were on the front lines getting, killed. So it was mostly everybody over there in Vietnam. But then when they came back, whites, blacks, Latino soldiers were not embraced. The military didn't really take care of them. They were coming back addicted to heroin. Because over there in the Vietnam was the poppy field and everything like that. So they were coming back addicted to opioids. So late 70s, early 80s, the 70s.
Yeah.
70s music was kind of slow, but it was fast because cocaine was the drug back then.
Right.
And they used to say cocaine was a rich man's drug. So
Yeah.
they had to figure people had to figure out, well, we want to get high on cocaine, but how do we do it in a cheaper way? So
Yeah.
then they created the crack cocaine. So then when the crack cocaine came about, it was accessible to everybody. So then you had veterans who were homeless trying to provide for their family, started to get high on the drugs, but then not only get high on the drugs, well, I can sell this and make some money. And it caused all out havoc, not only in our neighborhoods, but just everywhere. So
Everywhere.
then just the whole climate of the inner city started to change. Then once crack moved from the inner city, it moved to the suburbs. So then just the whole frequency of the earth changed with crack cocaine.
Yeah.
And just like taking it back to the music, the artists started getting high on these drugs. So then that's where the frequency of the music changed.
Okay.
And here we are today, still rapping about still rapping, singing about selling poison to our people,
Yes.
killing our people. Yeah. So where do we go? We
Yeah.
have to start appreciating music that uplifts us, music that talks about love. We have to start appreciating that again because that plays a part in our frequency.
Okay.
And
Yes,
I,
yes, yes.
and I, and Rashad, I want you to talk a little bit more about, talked about children that you don't have yet, but many people have these children. This is something that it goes across the races. Teach your
Mm-hmm.
children, tell your children that you love them. I want you to talk about, if you could, a little bit more about how important it is to teach your children not only their own heritage, but to teach them about love and respect. And, you know,
Yeah,
I loved how you started talking about that, but I'm an advocate for children. I
oh
don't have
yes,
any of my own, but on the flip
oh, you
side, I
don't.
have 4,000 because I figure every student that I ever taught was a child of mine.
You're a child, yes,
I would
ma'am.
really, I feel that it is the job of every single adult to protect the children, to teach the children.
Oh
And
yes,
the place that it's missing is in the home. And what's missing in the home is love. Teaching your children they are worthy of love. And I'd really like you to talk a little bit more, if you could, about your feelings about the difference that it makes when when you teach your children to love themselves, because you are all about love. And if you love one another, you're not going to sell them poison. You're not going to
yes,
want to downplay your neighbor. You know, you're not want to
yes,
stab people in the back if you love each other. But you have to be taught that. And I would love it if
yes.
you would just maybe, if you could, maybe just talk a little bit more about that in the Black community.
Yeah, I could. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It starts at home. Luckily, I was raised by my aunt. Um, Her name is Marcel Glenn, and she was a social worker. She got her bachelor's in sociology from the University of Wisconsin. So my aunt knows how to deal with people's behavior. And so when we were younger, she would always tell us, like, I want to reverse how your mom and your other aunties, I want to reverse like some of the things we saw when we were growing up. So she would always pour love into it. And I have a twin brother, identical twins. Before we would go to bed, she would make my twin and I hug one another, tell each other we love each other, and it really went a long way. And I remember this. She would always tell us, like, I'll never call y'all stupid or say anything like that to y'all. And if she slipped up and called her stupid, she would immediately apologize the same day. That is one thing that I remember that she would always do. If she ever said the word stupid, she would be like, I apologize to y'all for saying that because I told y'all that I would never call y'all that because I know how I felt when our father would say that to us when we were younger. So with that being said, it starts at home, and it starts with controlling your temper and controlling your tongue, and realizing that I'm
I'm
a
laying off right
believer
now.
in that the soul is infinite. Your soul is infinite. When we pass, we live on. A lot of us have been here before. A lot of us will come again, but inside of our body is what lives forever. So with that being said, you have to think of children like this. Children are actually teachers, because if you think about when children come here, children are actually protectors as well. Because some of these little ones have been here before. Their souls are very old. Their souls are very infinite. But we as adults, a lot of us have disconnected from our souls through things that we were attached to in the matrix, whatever it is. A lot of our souls have died or just detached. Drinking, the food we eat, music we listen to, just all of that. So when the children come, they're already pure, innocent, full of joy, here to remind us of the small things that we take for granted. I'll put it like this. Last year, I was exercising during the pandemic. I kept myself busy by exercising, cooking, and creating. And I was at a park watching children play. I was at a park in Houston, a big park. And it's like two schools, two elementary schools on each side of the park, on the outside of them. And so I'm at the park looking at the children that play and just looking at them full of laughter, full of life, full of joy. And then I go a little around the track past the children and I see some guys that work for Parks and Recreation. They worked at the park and were, at work. And they were just sitting down, just looking down, life in the eyes. And I thought to myself, well, what happened between childhood and adulthood that takes that innocence away from us, that takes that joy away from us? I'm like, well, how do we go from this to that, from joy, innocence, happiness, to depression, lifeless eyes? And I'm just like, wow, if we could all keep that childlike innocence. And that's what I always say all the time to people. Find your inner child. Keep your inner child alive. Resonate with children. Perfect example. Michael Jackson. People say what they want about him, but he was in touch with his inner child. He didn't have a childhood that was taken from him. So when he got to relive that, he did that. And he did it with children, through other children, through himself. So if we never connect with our inner child, we will never know how to love our own children. So just so good. And that is what instills confidence in children. That is a big thing. Moreover than love, parents have to start instilling confidence in children. Because the both of y'all are teachers or work in schools. The lady, Jacqueline, said she worked in a school. One thing about children is children can be ruthless when it comes to talking about each other, fighting each other, and what it comes from is self-hatred. There's no one at home telling you that you are worthy. So you leave home in an aggression. You leave home in a rage. So one thing about energy is it has to come out of you. So when you leave home in that aggression, you leave home in that rage, God forbid, some kids are leaving home hungry, haven't had meals in 1 or 2 days. So they gotta find somebody to take it out on. So that's why they start fighting on one another, picking on one another. It's nothing with the person they fighting on or picking on. It's everything they going through hell at home. And they just crying out for help, crying out for attention.
Because attention, good attention and bad attention are still attention. If you get attention from being bad, it's just It's still attention. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah.
Because they're not getting it at home. They need to be loved. They need to be honored. They need to be respected. They need to be taught at home. And that's not happening. Not just in the Black community, in every community. It's not happening.
Community.
And
I want to say this too.
Go ahead.
My aunt that raised me was a social worker by profession, and she used to work at this school called CEP. Are y'all familiar? It was like Canada school.
Yeah,
And
they had behavioral problems.
behavior problems. So sometimes she would tell us about some of the children, how that they will confide in her, most of the young women. And one thing they will confide in her, oh, my mom doesn't pay any attention to us. Her new boyfriend, she pays attention to him. She feeds him all our food. She don't love us. Feel like the parents the mothers don't love them anymore because they're loving is God more. And so I'm gonna get real surgical here. I'm gonna get real candid here. If there's any ladies watching this,
Yeah, they are.
always put your children first. And it's probably sound crazy coming from a man. But
Say it again.
Never put any man before your children, because your children see that, especially your daughters. And don't try to see different men in and out of your children's life. I'm not here to judge anyone. But if we must rise as a race, it starts with the woman first, because the woman is the backbone of the Black race. So with that being said,
of every race.
Of every race, because the woman is the first teacher. While the man works and provides, the woman teaches, stays at home, teaches. So any woman that's watching this, never put a man before your kids. And I know sometimes it may not have worked out between you and your children's father, but you must let a man, any man that comes into your life, know my children come first. If you can't respect that, kick them to the curb, ladies.
Yeah.
Them to the curb. Kick them to the curb.
You know, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off because we need all the information that you're feeding tonight.
Go ahead. I'm dropping jewels, but that's one I just want to say that and let it resonate with people and get y'all feedback. Like, don't put just any. Now you're gonna meet ladies because the dudes that y'all are putting in a hierarchy over your children usually are not the men that deserve that type of treatment. Reserve royal treatment to a man that loves you and your children as a whole. Reserve that treatment for a man that loves y'all as a whole. It's not many men that will do that. And not every man has to do that. But if a man is generous enough to do that, oh, he deserves the world. So, but with that being said, ladies, love those babies first, because they will remember you putting them last. And when it comes back to the time when you need them to take care of you in your old age, sometimes they'll be like, oh, no, mama did this, mama did that. So, ladies, I want to hear y'all's take on, women, bringing different men and prioritizing these men over their babies, because that's a subject that we don't talk about, and more or less, sometimes it leads to molestation within the home.
That's right.
And
That's
I know
right.
Jackie, you've seen all of this.
Yeah, I agree. I'm 100% behind you. And not just when mothers need to not just put other men in front of their children, but you need to not put your sons in front of your daughters. You need to treat them equally, because you need to teach your sons to respect women and you need to teach your daughter to respect men.
Yes.
If you are favoring your son because it's a boy and it's a son, or if you're favoring one particular child, maybe you like that child's father better than the other child's father. Whatever your reason is, I'm talking from experience here. I'm telling you, those little girls are going to grow up understanding that they are nothing without a man, and that is not true. If you teach them that your son is better than your daughter because he is a son, and you're teaching them that by the way you treat them, then they grow up thinking, well, I've got to have a man, because if I don't have a man, I'm worthless. I'm telling you this from experience. And this is not just my Black friends, my white friends, my Hispanic friends, my Asian, everybody, every woman. I have a degree in women's study.
Okay.
Sorry, that's one of my soapboxes I get in. I ran the women's center at the little college for a while. And I'm going to tell you, so many women out there, the reason they think they're nothing without a man, and so they'll take any man that comes along and wants them, is because they were taught as children that only men have value. We must teach our children to respect men, women, respect each other, not treat each other that I may be a queen, but you're only a serf. You're only a servant. No, he's a king and you're a queen in the making. You're a princess and he's a prince. He's not better than you. He's not worse than you. You're not better than him. You're not worse than him. You both deserve everything. Don't teach your children. Don't teach your little girls. And little girls are very much more connected to the unspoken word. Much more connected. Don't teach them that they are not as valuable, because they will grow up thinking, and that's where we get these women who put that man before their children. That's where they come from. They start as children because someone taught them that a man is more important than they are. That is so not true. Every relationship that you have, whether it's as lovers, as partners, whatever, it's not 50-50. It's 100-100. You need to both be putting in 100%. And if you grow up thinking that you're not worth 100%, it's a struggle. You're going to have to find a man who's willing to help you understand that you are worth 100%. And you're going to have to treat him like he's worth 100%. And we've had some great guests. Electra has great guests on. We had a couple on a couple of weeks ago. Wonderful couple. Our couple. They had to learn to respect each other. They weren't necessarily taught when they were growing up. Okay, I'm sorry. I took over. I don't mean to do that.
No, we just having a conversation. And you was at your point of the conversation. You don't have to apologize for being human. This is what this platform is about. Just having the conversations. And to be honest with you, it's the hard conversation. It's the conversations people don't want to talk about. When you start telling your story, when you start, just like Rashad, you talking tonight, you are not only talking about how you were reared up and why you're the person that you are at today, you are dropping some valuable nuggets and jewels in the life of every listener. Because when I get to that chat section, some of the stuff that people saying, they really appreciate you being on here tonight. So I don't want anybody coming on to this platform, this podcast, being, well, I don't want to talk about that. If you can't tell your story, then why even come on? Nobody can judge nobody, because ain't nobody better than nobody. People try to portray that. They can find everything wrong with you and your life. But nobody's better than nobody. everybody got something they dealing with or they dealt with. And the thing of it is we have, all of us, I believe, have got to learn to meet people where they are. If I can meet you where you, only way I can do that is I don't sit up and be judging you. How can I help you? How can I help you? Rashad, even tonight, other people will see this video that's not on here tonight. You have a huge message, not just to the women. You got a message to the men. And guess what? These young men, these young boys getting out here, they need men like you that say, hey, don't talk to a young woman like that. Treat her like you would want for somebody to treat your mama, how you want somebody to treat your sister. That's the message that I hear. You just like, I love that part when you said you got away from that rap music, because it wasn't doing nothing but feeding you all this negative stuff. Killing and having sex and breaking in people's houses and that kind of stuff. And it do, Rashad, it gets in your spirit and you start acting just like what you keep on listening to. I tell my grandson this all the time, and I mean it. You gotta look like where you going in life. If you look and dress like a thug, you telling the world that's what you want to be. But when you get up in the morning, you make sure you groom, you make sure you got what you need together, clean clothes, whatever you need, and you talk with intelligence, people look at you, how you carry yourself. Just because you wearing your pants below your drawers, people don't respect that. And you miss a lot of opportunities. But it's men like you who sit here tonight and say, hey brother, get yourself together. Act like a man, act like a king, and treat that woman that's in your life like a queen. That's what matters. Which you are saying so many powerful things that people of all ages can use. So that's why it's so easy for us to mistreat each other. Because we don't, like you said, we don't love ourselves. We say we do, but we don't love ourselves. Because just like you were saying, our eating habits, the way we carry ourselves, what we listen to, what we hang around, sometimes it's just horrific. I had a young lady that literally told me this yesterday. She said, Miss James, can I say something? Can I ask you something? She asked me how old I was. So I told her how old I was. She said, you sure are pretty, Miss James. I said, well, you pretty too. She said, well, only reason why I'm pretty is because I got, weave in her hair and stuff. I said, no, that's not the only reason why you're pretty. But I can tell you what, you got your natural hair. See, I wear my natural hair. I've been criticized for wearing my natural hair. But I appreciate what God gave me. I ain't trying to cover it. But to each his own. But don't beat yourself down because that's your choice. But make sure that whatever you're doing it because you want to do it. Not because that's the way you see everybody else doing it or you want to be like that. I work in a college system. I see a lot of stuff. And it's like you were saying, it gives you the chills. It really do. I am going to, before we get off, because we got people in this chat section, and I want to read some of what's in the chat section, okay? Some of the viewers, one of the viewers said, wow, I never thought about that. Truth. When we harm others, we look like ourselves. It is a form of suicide. Another viewer says, that's why we act the way we do with ourselves and our children. Another viewer says, that part is left out of history books and Americanized movies. You have another viewer that's simply saying thank you and really mean thank you. Have another viewer saying what you are saying is so true. We have another viewer says that's very true. There's so much power in the tongue. We have another viewer who says, you're so right. We are still those children inside, regardless of the maturity of our souls, housing has experience. Another viewer says, yes, they do cry out for attention, boundaries, and love. And then another viewer says, it's sad, but most of the time we drag ourselves through. We also drag our children through the same miseries in the process. So that's just some of the viewers that just got in the chat section that's chatting.
Yes, yes, yes.
So what you are saying,
yes,
go ahead, because you get the last 7 minutes.
okay, yeah, okay. And to those in the chat section, to those watching, if you are in Houston, even if you're not in Houston, you may be traveling to Houston and want to come get some of my good food or hear some of my good words. Follow my Instagram. It is Kale's Kitchen 713. That is spelled KALES underscore KITCHEN 713. Again, that is KALES underscore KITCHEN.
KYT or KIT?
KI. My Instagram is spelled different.
Okay, got you.
On my DBA is spelled KY. But
Okay, gotcha.
Again, that is KALES underscore KITCHEN 713, and that is on Instagram. So, for the last few minutes, just kicking game to the people in the chatter, to the people that's listening. This conversation was needed. And what I want people to take from the conversation is self-love. Because the people that we meet, the people, places, and the things that we meet are reflections of how we feel inside about ourselves. So if you're not attracting people that love you, there's something going on with you where your love for self is not fine-tuned all the way. When you start to pour into yourself limitlessly, without limit, pour into yourself. You have a favorite hobby that you like to do? Do it. You want to go treat yourself to a pair of shoes, to some clothes? Do it. You want to take yourself out to eat? Buy yourself. Do it. Don't wait for anyone. That sometimes becomes a problem. Waiting for others to validate us. Validate you first before anyone else can validate you. And only you know how you can validate yourself or love yourself. And once you do that to the fullest extent, you will start to attract others who love themselves fully. And the thing about love, what I am realizing about self-love and about loving friends and loving women, relationships, love comes with boundaries. When people set boundaries, a lot of the time we don't like that when people have boundaries. But what I've learned is that boundaries are a healthy example of love. So with that being said, if someone tells me, no, I can't do this, I have to respect that. If I say to somebody, no, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, they have to respect that. That is a form of love. And one of the other biggest forms of love, not only treat yourself how you want others to treat you, but treat others how you want to be treated, the golden rule. So if you want people to treat you bad, just wake up on the wrong side of the bed, go put a middle finger up at somebody, and watch how quick that energy come back to you.
Yeah.
You want someone to treat you good, or just even the simple things that could change somebody's day. And I'm gonna roll in on the last couple of minutes with this. I talked to a man about 6, 7 years ago, and this guy said, I don't need to come to the hood with a gun. I was in the hood, Greenspoint, conducting business. Know a lot of people out there. He said, I don't need to be in a place where I need a gun, because even if someone has a gun and wants to do harm to me, I can change that person's thought or trajectory before they even pull the gun, just by speaking. Hey, how you doing? Hope you're having a good day. I thought about that. He said, just by me speaking to somebody that may have an ill intent, I changed the trajectory by just showing that I cared by speaking to them. So that is one of the most powerful things that we as people can do to one another. You don't know how you may light up someone's life by saying, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. Well, have a wonderful day.
Right.
So many
Right.
people are walking around. So many people are walking around in their own zone and thinking that nobody cares. Just a simple hello
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
change the trajectory of that person's day. So, with that being said, I enjoyed this conversation. It was
Yes.
full of love. It was full of light. It was full of jewels and tools that we can use. And we need to have more conversations like this.
Yes.
So, anytime you want to have me back, I'm down to do it.
I.
Anybody watching, I love you. I
I.
love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And
Yes.
because
Thank
I
you.
love you, you should love yourself.
Yourself. Yes. Thank you
Thank you.
so much. And yeah, I'm gonna be asking you to come back on because we always ask guests to come back on because even if it's something you want to talk about, just reach out and get you back on. That's the thing about owning your own platform. You run it like you want to. You don't have nobody telling you who can do this and who can't do that, and we don't want to. It's not like that. It's your story. You tell your own story. And stories is what's inside your head that you want to share with other people. And you know what? Everybody not gonna like your story. Everybody not gonna agree with your story, but it's your story. That's what matters.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm just excited about you just wanting to come on to, agreeing to come on to this platform. When I asked you, you have no clue how that made me feel that you would come on to this platform. A lot of people like these huge platforms where there's a lot of people. I take whatever God give me and work with that because He gave it to me for a purpose. That's how I see. Jackie, you want to say something to Rashad before we go out?
I just want to say that I am impressed with you. I am so grateful that there are men out here in our town in Houston who are not afraid to say, I love you and mean it. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you, Rashad. Thank you very much.
You're
And
welcome. You're so welcome.
Your words have sat in my heart, and they will sit in my heart. And I hope that they sit in the hearts of many, many other people.
Yes.
Thank you.
All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Well, go
Yeah, have a
say
good one.
you too, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.